Welcome to the Market Weekly Breakdown. I'm going to start off with crypto, and then we're going to move over into the Forex side of things, and then take it from there. Let me just grab all of these nonsense out here. Let me grab the Forex charts there. Cool. So let's start off with the totals, right? So total 3. Start off on the 4 hour, and you can see we are currently moving in a downtrend, right? So the 4 hour on total 3, we're currently sitting in a position where we had all of this liquidity build up, or we have it still. We have not cleared it out just yet. Don't worry too much about all the nonsense happening on the right hand side of the chart. It's just some more recent markups. Go over here. All this nonsense, don't worry too much about that. But anyways, what we need to understand is we have all of this liquidity build up over here, and it seems to be that we are starting to take out this liquidity, right? It seems to me that we're going to start coming down to eventually take out that liquidity, maybe even tap into this order block down here on the 4 hour. So what I would do is I would go out and mark off this zone just up top here as a potential area in which you can bounce. I'm not saying we're going to bounce from this zone and move to the upside to make higher highs. I'm just saying that at this zone somewhere on the 4 hour, let me just mark it off again. Just saying at this zone somewhere on the 4 hour, we might see some sort of bounce to retrace to some level before coming back down, right? But before we even hit that zone, I want to check out what's happening more or less over here right now. Let me delete all of that. Because you can see that we have formed some kind of bounce over here. On the 4 hour, it aligns perfectly with this order block over here. Now, once again, I'm not saying that we're going to essentially bounce up and create new highs. I'm just saying that this could be a potential reversal area in which we can see just a move to the upside. Like this, we might be able to see a move to the upside, grab in some of those highs there, and then come down again. So we can see a retracement move playing out. And in my eyes right now, if I remove all of this, actually, let me just remove that, remove this, and remove this, I can see us potentially coming up to here on the 4 hour. If we do play it out properly, we could come up all the way to this 4 hour area here. And what will end up happening is that we have this kind of trend over here. And if we do come up, we will actually meet that trend somewhere over there and then shoot down again. We actually might come up more aggressively, tap there and then shoot down again. But just keep that in your head and keep that as a possibility. It might not play out, but it could essentially might as well. So more recent times, what is total 3 doing, right? So we see that total 3 is currently sitting in this kind of zone that we marked off, this 4 hour zone, right? Just give me 2 seconds. Right. So total 3 bounced from this zone over here. What I am seeing up top here is that there is liquidity being built up on the top side. So we have all of this like sitting liquidity over here that can get taken out. If I do that, and then I just do this, equal highs, some sort of equal highs. It's not really equal highs, but I'm going to read it as of now as some sort of liquidity. We have tapped into this zone over here on the left hand side. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because I was looking at this a little bit earlier, but you created this kind of liquidity level here, right? So that's liquidity over there, okay? Then this move here came up and took out all of that liquidity and tapped into this zone on the left in the 30 minutes. And then we came down again instantly after that, indicating that yes, we could be coming down from this area. But that's why I got a little bit confused between this, like, because it's equal highs, but it's also not, because we didn't actually close a higher high here. So it does get a bit tricky with that type of situation. Just with experience, sometimes the market goes and takes it, sometimes it doesn't. But if we look at it just as of this, as if this was a rejection off of this 30-minute candle here, then what we can do is we can take this situation here, go down to the 15 minutes, and then we can say that this was a lower low, right? So we can say that this was a change of character to the downside. Okay, if we go to the 30-minute, you can see that there's a 30-minute POI over here. So what I would do is I'd set an alert for that zone, and then just keep your eye out, because we could move down from this zone and come make a lower low essentially. But if that happens, let's go through to some of the charts, right? So let's see, 30-minute time frame. On Matic, you might have this zone here, right? You might have that zone. There are equal lows that you can go and target. If you want to consider these equal lows, you can target out these lows, kind of go for a setup that's like 50% of the zone, just till there, and then you literally short it down just till these equal lows that get taken out. So you can look for something like that. If I go to AVAX just broke through the zone that I had marked off. But it seems to me that it wants to go up to either this zone here or this upper zone here on the 30 minutes, right? So we've got two zones for AVAX that we can look out for. Let's check out some other charts here. Let's try Ape. Nah, there's nothing on there. I did see a couple other things. Oh, it was Atom. Atom had this zone here. However, it didn't break a lower low, right? So this is where it gets confusing because we never really made a lower low on the 30 minutes, right? But you can consider this the lower low on the 15, right? So you can consider this as the essential change of character to the downside. And then you have the break with structure before it. So the market went up and then it went down again, continuing the move to the downside. This would actually be the change of character to the top side. And this would be the break of structure to the downside. Then what you can do is you can take the fib, because you've got so many candles, like you've got so many candles here, you got that one, got one above it, you've got this one, you've got that one up top there, you've got so many candles that you can take. I'm going to go to the 30 minutes and just try and find like what candles could there be, right? So it would either be this candle here or it would be this zone here on the fib, right? So those are the two zones I'm watching out for. But what I'll also do is I'll keep an eye on the total, right? So if the total enters this zone here and it looks like it wants to start rejecting, then I'll go over to Atom and I'll see, is Atom in this zone or is Atom in the top zone? And then I'll look for a short from those respective zones, right? So essentially what will happen is you would look for a short either from this zone, stop loss above the zone, targeting the low, or you'd look for a short from the upper zone, stop loss above the zone, targeting the same lows. All right, so that's what you'd look for. On Bitcoin, nonetheless, we have this trend line that I drew out last week on the 4 hour, where essentially what happened was we had this trend forming over here, right? Essentially broke above it, managed to break beneath it again and retest it as resistance. So now it looks like we might start coming down from this. But if I go to 30 minutes, you can see that yes, we have made a lower low here. This was the essential change of character to the downside. There was liquidity buildup over here. Money down over there. And the essential order block that you're looking for on Bitcoin is only up here. That's the only difference, is that this order block on Bitcoin is quite high up, right? So coming back to the totals, I'm going to select the USDT dominance and we'll be able to see what's going on over there. Just give me 2 seconds again. So with the USDT dominance, you have a situation where you made this higher high, essentially, right? So you made this breaker structure to the upside, and you had this change of character to the upside. It's actually still a breaker structure. Change of character is kind of over here, right? So you're continuously breaking highs, okay? The zone in which I would look for shorts is kind of the 50% of this range. If I just activate my normal fib, it's kind of just between the 50% and the 618. That's the first zone I would look for. The second zone is literally right beneath it on the 30 minute. It's this zone down here. So you have two zones in the 30 minute that you can watch. Once again, I would keep an eye and see how we react at this area, because this would be the initial first zone that I would want to be bouncing off of. I don't want us to come down to this bottom zone, although we can. Like, there's nothing stopping us from coming down to that bottom zone if it wants to. So just watch out and see how candles start reacting in this area. Like, if you see a candle push into this zone and close outside this zone with like a bottom wick, then what I would do is kind of look for those actual positions to actually shoot the market to shoot the USDT in the opposite direction. And I'm going to go through a couple of other charts here real quick. Let me cancel this. So we have Atom, there's Matic kind of. Matic I'm not too confident about. I would stick with Atom first. I'm actually going to set an alert here for myself. And then let's go through a couple more. Let's go to check out some. I'm just going to scroll through a couple, see if I can see anything good, see if I can see anything worthwhile sharing. Okay, dot looks pretty decent. Reason why is because if I go to the 5 minutes, and see we had a change of character and then a break of structure once again. Go back to the 15. I'll take my fib from top to bottom here. That aligns perfectly. So dot's the best position that I actually look for in this situation. I'm going to set my alert right there, where my TP for dot would kind of be the first low here. So I'd kind of look for a position somewhere there. Stop loss above the high. First TP would be down here for 4 to 1. Second TP would be down here for 8 to 1. I would want to mainly go for this one, even go for just the normal 3 to 1. But I'd want to aim for that to get taken out first. So that would be the dot setup that I'm looking at. Looks quite decent. Look, the fib is also quite tight on there. It's quite nice zone. You can even just target the fib, the 70.5 level on the fib, increase the risk to reward of the first trade, and then you could be solid. And you can see over here, if I go to the 5 minute, we're starting to build up some nice liquidity here. So we're starting to build up this nice liquidity trend. So you can see us actually tapping in, get there, break it, retest, come down, tag this level, come down, tag this level here. That looks quite fresh, not gonna lie. So I'm keeping my eye on dot rather than Matic and Atom. Atom wouldn't be a bad one. I'm just gonna try and see if I can get a dot position rather than an Atom and or Matic position. But jumping over to the Forex side of things, I actually want to go over the dollar. Right. So a lot of nonsense going on the dollar. For RPOI that got tapped. Let's actually delete that. So you can see us continually breaking these lows. You can see now that we have some sort of equal lows tapped in over here. Right. Go to the 4 hour, more recent time frame. I can delete all of that. You can see that in this current situation here is we're building, or we took out the liquidity at the bottom here. Right. So if I go to the 1 hour, you can see it clearer. You can see here, we took out all of this resting liquidity at the bottom side here of this kind of just range, because we had equal lows, which was here. And then we tapped into this 1 hour zone over here. Okay. So what we can expect from this is that we can expect some sort of reaction to the upside to go and clear out all of this liquidity at the top. And that's what I would love to see. But what you could actually look for is if you want to look more on like a lower time frame perspective, I would wait for us to break above this high here. So we would have to break above this high here at about 101.794 before we can actually consider this a change of character. So we need to break above that. And then you can see here already, there's a very beautiful zone sitting right here. It's a nice demand zone here. Also need to change this to a demand zone. So there's a nice demand zone sitting right there that we can actually then bounce straight off of to the upside. So that's what I'm waiting for. I'm not taking any positions off of what I see right now, just because there is no change of character. There's nothing just to tell us that the market will go down. As of right now, until we break this high, this is going to be some resistance for the dollar, right? Because you can see here on the dollar right now, we just made a lower low compared to this one here. We broke the low, and this would be the essential order block that created that low. So essentially, we can still push to the downside. Until we break above this high, we can still come to the downside. If we can just push there, come down, make a new low, and continue the move. But we need to break above this high, close above the high, come down to this level here, and then we can make a new high and actually push into the newer zones. This is a supply zone, and that's that. With the Euro USD, right? I managed to get this position last week. Oh, sorry, it wasn't there, it was over here. Managed to get this position last week, Friday. I think I TP'd somewhere. I TP'd at $200. When it hit, it was somewhere there. It was somewhere in this area here is where I TP'd off the position. TP'd like 80%, and I TP'd the rest over here somewhere. As soon as it kind of closed. It was there, and I TP'd the others somewhere here. Essentially what happened was we tapped this zone perfectly, we came down, and this massive red candle was amazing to see after we tapped that zone. But then essentially then what happened was the next candle opened, right? So this next candle opened on the position, and it pushed all the way down, but then came up and closed as a pin bar candle, and I don't want to see that when I'm trading, so I literally just got straight out of the position. And then the position came all the way back up. But as of now, this zone has been invalidated. And if I go to the 1 hour, you can see that we could be pushing up into higher zones, right? So the dollar, the euro against the US dollar is currently looking for that upper zone over there. So it's a bit tricky. Same with GBP USD, you've got this upper zone here because you've got all of this liquidity, right? So you've got this liquidity here. It's just literally building a channel or building some sort of just level in which money just needs to get taken. So what I'm waiting for here is I'm waiting for the dollar to make a move, push this in one direction, and then we can short it down. Or I'm waiting for it to make a move where it makes that come up, and then we can short it down again. Or if we want to go long, maybe go up to there, come down to there, and then go long to this zone. So essentially what I want to look for is some sort of change of character and a pullback to long, or a sort of liquidity clear to short. All right, so that's what I'm looking at on GBP USD. I'm moving that into my weekly analysis as well. On the Nasdaq, I didn't say anything on the Nasdaq earlier today, like earlier this morning, just because we were consolidating. Like this over here is one big consolidation, right? For me personally, what you could look for essentially is you could look for this zone here. If you're looking more lower time frame vibes, what you could look for is this zone down here as the demand zone, and then this kind of looking at as like a channel. So you have some sort of channel forming, and then once you kind of get to the bottom of this channel again over there, you could look for a long. I wouldn't long it that high though, so that's the only thing is I would really want to go for a tight entry, not tight, but I mean I wouldn't just enter randomly from the top of this zone. I'd wait for it to come nice and deep into this zone. Try to look for some sort of confirmation as well. I'm not going to take this trade without confirmation. And in this example, like you can target the top of the liquidity range here. So you can target for us to take out the liquidity. But the only problem I have with that is that what if you come down, go up, tag this level, and come down again just to stop you out and actually tap into a lower level over here, right? Because you can see right beneath it is another level over here. So that's why I say like I didn't really see much on the Nasdaq, because we can come down, we could tap here, we could go up, but we also could just come back down again. So that's why I say if you're targeting this zone, or if you're trying to get an entry, please wait for a confirmation before entering, and then just maybe go for the top of this trend over here if it does continue. With gold's doing the same thing. As nothing really that's moving this market right now. It's all just consolidating, because it is a Monday, it is the open, like that's just all consolidation. I'm not looking for any major positions right now. I want to see what gold's doing today before I do anything else or decide to do anything else with gold. GBP JPY, go 4 hour. You can see over here, this is where it got a bit interesting, right? So you can see over here, we have a 4 hour change of character on GBP JPY. Okay. And we have this area here in which we can look for shorts off of. But the only problem, let me just check the JPYX real quick. See, the only problem here is that the JPYX just cleared liquidity, right? We just cleared all of that liquidity to the upside. So what I would do is I'd go to the 1 hour, right? once I'm here, I'd look for an essential area in which we can bounce. Maybe it's this zone here. And I would wait for that zone. I'm going to set an alert there as well. And I'm going to wait for that zone to get tapped. If I draw my fib, I just want to double check because I didn't do this earlier. Okay, so the fib is sitting in this fair value gap here. So we have this fair value gap that the fib is kind of sitting on, FEG. And we have a kind of a 1 hour demand zone just beneath it. If I go to the 2 hour, let me see if there's a 2 hour zone. Yeah, this is kind of like a hidden S&D zone over there. Like this candle over here, this bullish doji candle, it's kind of like a hidden supply zone. I mean demand zone. But for me personally, just because it's a Monday, I'm not going to be taking any positions unless I see a perfect setup. So I just have a marker set over there. If I go back to GJ, I'm just going to move it up. If I go back to GJ, you see we're starting to get a little bit tricky because there is no real candle that is sitting here. You have a 2 hour zone, but like, look, I mean, you're almost breaking above that zone. So what you could do here is you could just essentially look for like a 15-minute or even a 5-minute change of character. So for example, what you could look for here, like this could be a change of character here. And like you could be shorting off of that zone, but the only problem with that is that you never broke a low, right? So on the 5-minute, you'd want to break below this low here. So you want to break below this low here. Grab my marker. And then come up again to some sort of level to short off and make a new low. Because like this is essentially going to be the most recent low that got made on the 5-minute, right? And if you go to the 10-minute or the 15-minute, it's not even the most recent low. On the 15-minute, to make a change of character, you'd have to break that, right? So if you come down to here and you come up and you enter a short on the 5-minute, right? Only target, like if you get this short over here, only target the 15-minute low. Do not target anything else other than the 15-minute low. Don't go down to this low down here. Just go to the 15-minute low. The reason for that is because if you make a 5-minute change of character, the market still needs to make a 15-minute change of character to confirm that, yes, we are going to move down for a bigger position. And you can see over here, if you look at it from a different perspective, right? Because now I'm telling you, like, this is how I'd look for shorts. But if I look at it like this, right? I'll show you here. This was the actual breaker structure. Because this is what's actually being put in the markets. Because you have this breaker structure to the upside. And then immediately you have this area here on the 15-minute. This demand zone on the 15-minute. So it becomes tricky because essentially you could just come down to here and find support and then push up, make a new high, right? So that's why I say wait for that change of character, enter there with a tight stop loss, and then only short it down to like this level here, between there and there. And then somewhere here, just short it down to these levels here. And then if you decide, or if you see like the market comes down and you start getting support in this zone here, you can even look for a long because there's the breaker structure, there's the pullback, and there's the long, right? So that's what I'm looking at over there. I'm going to set an alert there as well. And that's kind of what I'm looking at for the Forex side of things. There isn't much really. A lot of the charts have literally just been consolidating and whatnot. I'm trying to look at the markets from more of a professional kind of wait and see perspective because I don't want to be sitting here giving you guys a position every single day. Like, it's not my job to sit here and tell you guys, hey, we should trade this today, or there's a trade to take every day, because there isn't. Like last week and the week before, there was some days where I was sitting on my hands. Like, I wasn't even sitting on my hands on purpose. I was just looking at the market and saying, oh, that's just one big consolidation range on the 1 hour. And I'm not going to sit here and try and trade a 1 hour range on the 5-minute just because that's not what I do. Like, I don't like to scalp low time frames, like 5-minute time frames or 1 minute time frames if the market on the 1 hour is just ranging, right? I love to get into my positions on the 5-minute or the 1 minute, but I trade movement. I don't trade ranges. I trade market direction, right? So that's what I do. That you guys don't have to copy me. Like, you really don't.